Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So there's no
Yay.
Welcome back to the after show for Meeple Syrup, and both Bruno and Eric foolishly stayed with us.
You chose poorly.
So we're gonna spend the next 30, 40 minutes chatting. Some of the topics we brought up, or we'll more likely, like every after show, just go completely off topic, and we love that too. So with that said,
30 minutes for me because I want to be at 7 in the morning when the shops open to try to have a copy of Charlie Hebdo because yesterday they were all sold in 30 seconds, I think.
Right.
Do me a favor
we can
and
do
eat
that.
a chocolate croissant for me because
And what do I do with this croissant then? I send them to you.
well, just eat it and I will enjoy it vicariously through you. It's like, think of it as edible co-design.
That's a little strange.
And now everyone is thinking, why, oh why did I not pick the blue pill?
Right.
As long as we're talking about crocodiles and hallucinogens, right?
Right. We're always talking about crocodiles and hallucinogens. So, Daryl, you had something that you wanted to say, right?
did I?
I don't know. You're going on, and then suddenly, crocodiles and hallucinogens.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. You're gonna have to trigger me better than that. But
I don't know.
I will say this. I am looking
Okay.
forward, and I'm curious actually. So Bruno, maybe you can jump in on this as well. I'm looking forward to. I just found out I'm going to Europe for a little over a month in April, and so what are some tips of what are some of the good spots throughout Europe to hit for board games? Where are the pockets of the board game scene? If I were to come visit France, if I were to, I'm for sure visiting Italy, Switzerland, Spain, and probably France.
Well. If you're still there on the 1st of May, there's my personal game convention that you can join.
Ooh, invite.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be completely full, actually, but maybe we can arrange something. But it's on the 1st of May, so it's late April, let's say.
I'll have to get back to you for sure, but I might take you up on that offer because I am there until mid-May.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. So, theoretically, all the rooms are full, but if you want to sleep in a hotel nearby, maybe we can arrange something. Or maybe there will be some desist, I don't know. Except for this nice place for board games, I don't really know. Paris, of course, and maybe Lyon and around because so you can meet Bruno Catarain, Ludovic Maublanc, and Antoine Boza because they are all more or less in this vicinity.
Wow.
Antoine is in Valence, Bruno is in Grenoble, and they usually meet in Lyon or around. So that could be a nice place. But I don't see anything specific board games place because board games is not something that need a specific place. People just play at their home, and if you are somewhere with gaming friend, you just play at that place.
That works. That's some great advice. I didn't know if because we in Canada have this boom of board game cafes that seems to be more of a phenomenon. It looks like in North America. And then also conventions. I didn't know if there was any in April or May that you'd recommend that are going on.
Well, except for mine, I don't see anything in April or May. But I don't
Everything
follow.
seems to pale in comparison to your.
I don't follow all game conventions. I don't know everything about it. And as for board game cafes, there are some nice places. I know some in Paris. There is this Dernier Bar in Paris where you have to go. It's more role playing, but it's also lots of board game. It's kind of very geeky bar, but it's really a nice place. It's all in geek culture everywhere, and it's made by nice people, and they don't take it too seriously. So you have to go. It's a last cafe before the end of the world. And it's a really nice place. It's in Paris.
Cool.
What I like is the fact that, asking as a Canadian from a huge place is like, Europe, that's about the size of Canada. I could go to a couple places in Europe, So here and there, it's so close.
Yeah, I know. Look, even though you could fit all of Europe in Ontario, it's awesome.
We may not have much, but we've got a lot of space that's empty.
A lot of space.
A lot of space.
Yeah.
It's
So
just really snow.
yeah, right now it is. It's totally snow. But the nice thing is that, I mean, hopefully, maybe before I'm dead, we'll get light rail, and then I can shoot up to Ottawa and shoot up to Toronto to see you guys.
Dude, why do you have to put it that way? What if they get light rail tomorrow?
Then I might die.
Do I vote against light rail improvement, or do I vote for it?
I know. Like, do you hate your friend?
This could be a game. This could totally be a game. Although I think Daniel Solis already made a game called Light Rail, but not about killing Sen. So
well, yeah, vote for your friends to die.
yeah.
So there's your two-rule game. If you vote against light rail, Sen will die.
Yep, 2 rules.
Again.
What games have you been playing lately, Eric?
Quite a few actually. I've been on a bit of a kick. Mostly catching up on games that are new to me, not necessarily new. I finally played Machikoro, which I love. I love that game.
Yes.
Yes. The game is right up my alley. I played this great little game called Panic on Wall Street, I think it's called.
Oh,
yeah. A bunch of people are very excited about it, and I know nothing about it.
Great game. I'll tell you nothing about it. Just enjoy. just read the rules and enjoy. It's really cool. Quite original. Let's see what else I played. I finally played Sheriff of Nottingham, which is cool. I played some games I didn't like that much, so I'm not going to really call them out.
That's fair.
But I played a game by this French guy, something Faluti.
I've never heard of him. I don't know what you're talking about.
No clue who he is.
Masks in the Nude, something like that.
And what'd you think of that one?
Oh my God, I talked to Bruno about this already. I love that game. So I'm a big fan of Coup. Coup is one of my favorite games of 2012.
Yep.
2012, 2011. I don't remember now. But Masquerade to me was like Coup designed for me.
Yep.
Like the way I would like to play that game.
Yeah, it's that to me as well. Like, I enjoy Coup, but I really like Masquerade.
Yeah, so my wife had a hard time with it. Funnily enough, there's a specific type of crunch in it I can't quite isolate. That's a little bit too much for her type of casual gamer. But everybody else loved it, so who cares?
She's just your wife, right?
But,
don't tell her I said that.
Actually, no, that's not true. I played it with a group of Germans as well in Essen. Some friends of mine from a publisher who shall remain nameless. They had a hard time with it too.
I was just going to say, I enjoy teaching that game to non-gamers.
Right.
Always a fun time. And then if I have very serious gamers and I teach it to them, then they have lots of little comments. And I'm like, why do I play games with gamers?
So there were not enough cubes turning into other cubes, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
No, actually, funnily enough, there's a particular type of complexity, and I think I have to break it all down to the rock, paper, scissors interaction, that certain types of franchise gamers have a lot of trouble with. So my friends from this publisher, the ones that had trouble with Masquerade, we pitched them a rock, paper, scissors variant game. Like, it's rock, paper, scissors with special powers and a leaderboard. Right? Sounds like simplest thing in the world. But all of the mechanics that we put around it, the dressing, no problem. The crunch, not a problem. But the rock, paper, scissors part, they were like, nope. Blew their mind. Like
3 is too many decisions. It needs to be 2.
It's too complicated. They're like, I have no guidance. I don't know what to do.
This is hilarious because like I actually wrote this this kind of short article on rock paper scissors as an emergent phenomenon. Like it's actually an emergent strategy. It occurs in nature, specifically with species such as the side-blotched lizard, which actually has 3 different colors that has 3 different mating strategies. One controls a lot of territory, one controls a small amount of territory, and the other one just surreptitiously goes into other people's territory.
That'd be me.
It's exactly, there you go. But it's like it's rock paper scissors, but it's an evolutionary strategy that just evolved out of mating competition. It's like something you'll see with side-blotched lizards and humans, Protoss, and whatever your kind of.
They're called Zerg.
Zerg, those guys. No, I thought they were Tyranids. I can't. No, anyway. But the thing that I wanted to say was...
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the chat.
Yes, okay, now you've got me laughing about the chat. Right, I was going to talk about Machikoro. Because my wife and family played that, and my son complained like for the first half of the game, and then he won, and then my son complained for the first half of the second game, and then he won again. The little rock.
That's a very popular evolutionary strategy too.
It is the son beating the dad,
or the complaining.
Yeah, complaining like, I'm gonna lose. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
Now that's actually a good game to talk about in terms of what we were talking about today.
Exactly.
Chaos. Let's get to the diciness of Machikoro. What is it about the dice that are awesome, and what is it about them that sucked? And why did your son complain?
I think because of the dice, but the fact is he was building a great engine, and like I even went so far as to actually build an Excel spreadsheet to see what the payoff was by the probability for each card given the number of players present. And so like, there are it's me.
What is great with Machiko is like with Catan, is that the best engine can still sometimes lose.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, it's a bell curve it's a parabolic bell curve with like just really really high spikes, and that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, all throughout the game, you are doing something. I mean, you get the blue cards. You're gonna get a little income every once in a while. The way that it evolves from a 1-die to a 2-die game, I think, is to me that's the most interesting part of the game, because you have no idea once it becomes a 2-die game where it's going to go. Like you're basically trying to play for that last push, right? And so that's really interesting to me. But from a cultural perspective, my wife was sad that we had the English version, and B,
I was sad you had the English version.
Everyone is sad I have the English version. We have to go get the Japanese version because my wife is Japanese, and she, one of the other things about it that she noticed was she loved the design aesthetic. The design was so clean. The art is so it's very Japanese. It's just like really nice, clean design.
It's very Shibumi, very much Shibumi.
That's a good point. Actually, my wife had the exact same comment. Exactly
it resonated with her incredibly deeply. Yeah.
Yep, exactly the same.
Interesting. I think actually that game ties in. Also, we talked a little bit about Seth Jaffe's article about giving people do we as designers try to limit poor play, or try to, because Machikoro you can totally make bad decisions right off the bat and be basically out of the game. Spend your money on
on the
one
train,
card,
right?
On the train, yeah.
On train, and then just you're done. There becomes a moment of statistical behind. So because you're just racing to those 4 cards being done.
Yeah,
But
but they do it really nicely, right? In Machikoro, where you can trigger things on your turn, on their turn, on their turn, but on my turn, that kind of stuff, and that's where it beats Settlers for me.
But that's assuming good play. I've actually played with people where they just bought all the same card. It was all on their own turn, and so then their whole experience was, well, I just wait till my turn. I roll the dice. If I don't hit, I move on. And I'm not saying that they played well. I mean, sure, they have themselves to blame, but there's also this, is there a responsibility on the designer side to give tips? Does that take away from it?
Yeah. It's true that every game is bad when it's badly played. So in a way, it's in the designer's responsibility to try to have a game where it's relatively obvious that playing this way or this way or this way will be very bad, so that no one does it at once. But you also don't want to say what is very good play, because it becomes too obvious. But
well, what about catch-up mechanics? What do we feel about catch-up mechanics?
Well, there's an interesting fork in the road there, right? And I've been thinking a lot about this lately, in the sense that I think we had the pendulum swung a little bit too far in the other direction, both in digital games and in paper games, I believe. In that we call it rubber banding in pretentious game design jargon, right? Where like where mechanics that it's not just a catch-up mechanic, but mechanics that literally bend the game elastically to keep exactly what Daryl's doing, right? It's called rubber banding to keep everybody focused toward the middle ground.
I think a good way, what I like, is to cheat and to have a system where maybe it's obvious that, from someone, all-knowing being, God's point of view, who will win, but players don't know about it. I think what is important in a game is that you still think that you may lose.
Right.
And the fact that actually you can't is not very important. So that's why I often make game where victory points and that kind of stuff are secret, or you cannot really know.
Yeah.
So you think that you think you're still in the game. In fact, you're not, but it doesn't matter because you think you are in.
Exactly, that's true.
Do you lean towards in your designs? I'm curious with everyone here. Like, do you lean towards giving carrots, like incentivizing or trying to attract people to good play, or do you use punishment? Like, do you use deterrence?
That's a really good question. I mean, I
stick.
Eric gives them the stick, Bruno gives them both, and for me, based on how I look at conditioning and operant conditioning as a psychologist, I'd use reward more, just reward.
I mean, to be fair, carrots on sticks.
Oh, okay.
What this?
Dangle.
What this? Yeah.
Well, like you can't. I mean,
stick is a good idea.
Like positive and negative reinforcement are both really powerful tools, right?
Oh, totally, yeah.
Negative reinforcement, I actually believe, works in the sense that it is. Well, I mean, as studying psychology, right? Negative reinforcement is always more memorable than positive. Yeah. Right? Positive reinforcement is very, very transitory and ephemeral. But one time you lose, the one time you lose because of a stupid mistake you made, you will never forget that.
And that goes towards your fail faster in game design as well.
Fail faster in game design.
With poker. The poker game you remember is the ones where you lost much money.
The bad beat, absolutely.
You don't really remember it. It was perfectly normal.
Now, what about though the pressures in kind of our cult of the new culture where people are rating and reviewing games after one play, or
they're reading them on the art.
Yeah,
that comes out.
Kevin Wilson put one up for his Cthulhu game where someone had rated it a 1 and someone had rated it a 10, and he said, "I'm about to start designing this game."
Right. Well, I mean, so I agree. So, and it's true that the conservative among us want to, based on that, right? Based on the on where our marketplace is heading, that yes, your game gets. We're heading toward the sort of digital thing, right? Where you get 3 clicks and you are judged, right? Which I think is, I mean, that's kind of bullshit. Sorry.
It's all right.
It's the Aftershow.
It depends on games. I have reviewed a few games after playing them once.
Sure.
Because I think there are games for which I knew after playing them once, and maybe sometimes just after reading the rules, if they were good or not and how they will play. And there are games where you have to go farther and deeper and understand some subtleties. I think it depends, but there are games that you can really rate after one play.
Right. You can't design only for first play, right? Because then we end up we end up with the tutorial style design, right? Where everything is so front loaded, right? That the market's getting savvy at this point, right? If you use MMOs as an example, massive multiplayer online games, if you look at how those games evolved, like if you look at like every massive multiplayer game that comes out now, the first 5 minutes are amazing.
Yeah, the
And then
best
it
experience
sucks.
of your life. Yeah.
Right. Do you really want that?
Well, having like when I was in Shanghai and I was lucky enough to be hanging out with the guy, one of the guys, creative director at CCP who had done Eve, and the staying power of that game is incredible because they found a way to make the community drive the game, to actually use the multiplayer, massive multiplayer to their advantage. But I kind of wanted to talk about, return just a few subjects earlier to our whole responsibility for making a fun game. And I'm going to use a counter example that I think is reasonably persuasive, and that's Container, where basically people's bad plays made the game bad. So to what degree was the designer of Container responsible for containing the play style of their players?
You're a dad. You're allowed.
I'm a dad. I can make bad jokes.
I have to leave. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Well,
We will miss you, Bruno. Thank you for coming on.
Bye.
Thank you very much. We'll talk to you
Thank
later.
you very much, Bruno.
Bye.
Have a good one, Bruno.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So there, I actually have a counter. I have a counter for the counter of counters.
Okay.
The counter to Container.
A lot of blue.
The counter to Container is the philosophical counter to Container is Space Alert.
Okay.
By Vlada Chvátil, a game that that is designed to fall apart and players to lose. A game that is more fun to lose than it is to win.
Right.
Right. And that the big takeaway. I don't know if have you guys played the game?
Oh yeah, tons.
Okay. In fact, shameless plug.
Oh, there it is.
This game definitely drew some loose inspiration from Space Alert in the sense that it's a co-op game, and some of it's in real time, some of it's not. But the spiritual inspiration that I took was I really want to think of a game like the way I designed XCOM, right? I've been accused of being inside the app, right? And this game is all stick, right? It is punishing and it hates you, and it does everything it can to make your life absolutely suck, right? Not just difficult, but to send you into many different death spirals at once.
Yeah.
And the reason is that it increases solidarity between players, and B, the big lesson I learned from playing Space Alert, I'm not sure if that was a lesson Vlada wanted to teach us, but I learned it, is that making a game fun to lose is a hell of a lot more important than making a game fun to win, even a game, or even fun to run in the middle.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Games
Absolutely.
that fall apart, hilariously, are awesome.
Well, and the other side of that is co-ops, right? Like, often lots of people have especially certain gamers love co-ops because a whole bunch of people walk away from the table, with a positive win condition where you all shared it or you all lost it. So, naturally, you're going to get a lot of shared kind of positive experience where you're all talking about it and collectively experiencing it. Now, I'm going to counter, though, Dylan's argument with Container and say...
Counter.
I think this is going to be a corner counter, because I don't think it counters Space Alert.
Does not. I'm not even touching Space Alert. But I'm just going to go with, I believe Container is a negative experience, what you're pointing to, because of expectations. And I was quickly told the first time I played Container is a game where the economy is so free that you can crash the game.
Yes, exactly.
And so, because I was told that right from the get-go, a part of me thought maybe a fun win condition is breaking the game. Right. Another one was maybe a win condition, in my experience, is it doesn't crash. And even if I get second, at least we didn't crash the economy. So for me, I can actually play Container and have a ton of fun because of that freedom. that I'm like, I'm not even sure if we'll even make it to the end.
Yeah, that's
Right.
cool.
I mean, there was a Rudiger Dorn game called Traders of Genoa, right? That was one of the first batch of classic Euro games. That game is, I mean, if you follow the designer being responsible for the player's fun, if you take that to not even to the extreme, but if you just take it to a level, then that game is broken. Right? Like you can break Traders of Genoa tomorrow by just refusing to trade, right? Or trading only with one player. Done. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not. That's not the designers. That is not Rudiger Dorn's fault, right?
I think that's a choice.
Yeah.
Right. It's sorry. There's a. I've lost track of how many counters we got, but there's. I mean, there's also there's a whole other end of the spectrum, right? Which is the griefer games like Talisman and Munchkin are my two favorite examples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where the fact
I seriously thought you were just going to say they were your two favorite games.
Oh, that would have been incredible.
And we could have caught you on tape and everything. Sorry, just go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, those games definitely exist, and they definitely have their fan bases.
And they do, yeah.
Well put.
So actually, I'm going to tell you something.
I'm listening.
You probably heard this here first.
I
think I learned more game design lessons from Talisman than I did from any other game released in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Right, like that game taught me so much. Right, to get over myself and get out of my own head, right, as one of them, and B, that certain styles of briefing are really, really fun, and that player bandwidth is a resource, right? And Talisman spends that player's bandwidth as a resource expertly.
Yeah.
Right. It is exactly crunchy enough to occupy players for as much as they want to be occupied, and exactly loose enough so that they can spend most of their time just laughing at the guy that got turned into a frog. Right, and I'm like, when you watch that game, right? I mean, the game is a classic for a reason, right? Not all of us may love it. I certainly don't. But when I watch people play that game, holy crap! Like, they love it, and they love it fervently, like to their core.
Deep down in their heart, man.
Right, and I watch it, and they play the whole thing, right? They don't. I suspected that the game was house ruled, but no.
Yeah.
Same with Munchkin. I can think of times, game cafes, big groups having a great time all night long playing Munchkin.
Right.
Munchkin tournaments, you name it. I actually this week I was talking to a friend who was talking about he was afraid to show a prototype who was going out, and it was one of his first prototypes, and he was afraid that it was going to get ripped. And I said, let's be honest, dude. Like, A, you are going to get ripped, and that's all right. You're going to have to get used to that. But B, like, it's your own choices anyways. You're showing other people, but if Munchkin was shown to me as a prototype, I'd rip it to shreds. And yet Munchkin has a ton of people that love it. So also trust your gut, like listen to people, make choices, and then design the game that you're trying to make. And it's not going to appeal to everyone. So, just design to your core audience who you're trying to make a game that you think's fun, and then see if there's other people out there that also think it's fun.
I think that this discussion really has kind of explored the territory that Huizinga defined in his idea of the sacred space.
Oh, this is the second time we've talked about him.
We have, and you know what?
Months.
If you haven't read Homo Ludens, you haven't lived. But the concept
we haven't lived. This is incredible.
Completely.
Yes. Okay. Every man dies. Every man dies. Not every man truly reads Huizinga.
Yes.
But the concept, of course, basically being there's a sacred space within which we are all collaborating to create a fiction, but a fiction that has rules and a fiction that we all participate in, and basically the fun is up to us, to maintain that fiction. So yeah, it's a very interesting discussion from that basis that effectively we're kind of exploring this territory from the player's side and not from the structure's side.
Interesting. So I'm all tapped out of blue mana, so I can't counter anybody.
2 blue, 2 colors. Forbid. Done.
So what else is going on in the game world that we need to talk about?
Well, I mean, I did mention it on the show, and Eric seemed to manage to avoid the question, but I'm curious
Oh.
of your thoughts of FFG getting swallowed up by Asmodee, Days of Wonder.
Oh, there we are.
What's going on? What do you think of that?
Well, so I'm an FFG fanboy. Everybody knows that.
Yes.
And despite the fact that they make awesome games that I like a lot, I'm a fan of the company culture, and I'm a fan of the way the company's run. Right. The thing that I like best about them is that for an 800-pound gorilla, 650-pound gorilla, they still operate like an underdog maverick company, right? They made the way that the choices that they made with XCOM, right? As an example, right? Any publisher that is in their position that would normally have to be really conservative, right? They would follow the checklist design, right, and would make a great game, but they would go like XCOM needs to be this.
And just be safe.
Right, be safe, make the game. FFG was like, no, we're going to push, right? We're going to push ahead and make a game that the market might not like. They might not. They might tell us to go to hell, right? But that core of FFG is not going to change, right? Because they're a personality-driven company.
And I mean that's why Asmodee bought them, really.
Right. And Asmodee is smart enough to not mess with that formula. Now the thing that having Asmodee money means that the one weakness that FFG had, which was not so much marketing reach. They're really good at it, and they have really good people working there. But not marketing itself, but marketing reach.
Right.
That's solved now, right? They have resources that they've never had before. They'll have a marketing budget that they never had before. You're going to get to see their stuff in. I would not be surprised if FFG breaks the $100 barrier, right? And you see like something like Imperial Assault in Walmart one year.
Yep.
Right? That's crazy. That's boundary breaking.
Yeah. I think this is my biggest hope is that they'll at least start making better inserts for their games. That is one hope.
So, I'd be surprised. I mean, I don't have any particularly amazing insight into that. I remember the FFG Valley was a topic of great discussion, and I mean, I've been in meetings. I've done back of the napkin production analysis on all of these games, right? And what you'd have to give up to get the Days of Wonder treatment. Like Days of Wonder does great. For example, they do great.
Production
insert,
on
right?
Stuff. Yeah.
They do great plastic custom inserts, but that custom insert costs as much as almost all the rest of the components of the game.
That vacuum insert, that's just right.
Right, that's crazy. So they can do it for Ticket to Ride because it sells 1 million copies a year, right? And their costs are somewhat amortized, but of course, on the other hand, plastic doesn't amortize very well over volume either.
No.
So they're literally leaving money on the table. So like this is the point where it's like, do you really want to pay 25% more for these games, or do you want to lose 25% of that really cool plastic toy stuff, or do you want to have the Valley? Like having seen how that works, I'll take the Valley any day, right? I'll just make my own. I throw the Valley out. I just take all my cool Descent toys and throw them into plastic bags, and there you go.
Yeah. I mean, it makes for that aftermarket for the people who are making all those foam core and wood insert container things.
It's true. You look on BG.com and you see like all these. I love what people do with the living card games. There's some pretty inventive stuff out there.
Yeah, or that guy who made that Dominion table that rotates and stores everything.
Oh, the Lazy Susan, right? Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
There's a couple things there, which is I don't necessarily see this as being a bad thing. The whole FFG, Asmodee, the whole Asmodee thing in general, just buying up a lot of stuff, because they're not out to change the formulas. They're out to make some money off of that formula by providing more money to that group of people who is doing well already. So I don't foresee any major changes with any of the smaller houses, right? Because that's what they are. They're little design houses that that Asmodee is kind of snapping up, putting under their umbrella, and they've already. I mean, if you know anything about Asmodee, it's already an umbrella already.
I was just gonna say it's
These are
also
just major
a
purchases.
distribution play. It's a partnership play. There's already a lot of relationships that were overlapping.
Yeah.
Right. The only risk, Bruno did have a point, right? Like the eggs in one basket thing. The only risk that we have for the industry as a whole, not necessarily any one company, is sure, right? If Asmodee does go completely vertical, right? If they end up in distribution and retail and manufacturing, and yes, it does stand to reason that they are a venture capital run company. It's possible that a significant part of our industry will be venture capital controlled, and that will change the culture of the industry. Right?
Sure. Well, it'll affect designers. I mean, like for instance, we have a cross section here of different experiences and different amounts of titles, behind our names. It's gonna be a lot harder for someone like me to pitch a game to the super conglomerate than, Eric or Sen.
Well, I think a lot of this other stuff it'll still happen because they're each going to have their own little, inventor relations team, because they look for certain things that are different. If they want to keep their brand identity different enough for each of the little design houses, they've got to do it that way. They can't funnel it through one source. They really can't. It's just way too hard to do it that way. So I don't necessarily think that's going to be a huge problem. But
they may centralize. It's not off the table, right? But Asmodee right now, as long as the industry continues on its boom cycle, and we're not a bubble, right? I want to repeat this over and over and over again. Like we're not operating like a bubble at all. No. So we're simply just in a boom cycle, and boom cycles don't always. Sorry, I shouldn't even say we're on a boom. We're trending boom.
Trending.
Right. It's not. We don't have to have a precipitous bust at the end of this. Historically, we've always been going up. So as long as we go up, there will always be alternatives to Asmodee, right? The final thing I want to say is that on some level, I'm actually a little bit glad that there's such a big player in the industry now, because maybe the minimum bar for publication will be raised a little bit. Because of Kickstarter and all this stuff, there's so many games being released now.
Yes.
That we talk about the glut and stuff all the time. It is going to affect it. Yes, everything's selling for now, but as long as everything's selling, a number of new games is going to go up every year. 2 years ago, there were 675 games at Essen. The year after that, there were 1,000 new games at Essen.
Yeah.
Right. It keeps going up like that. There's no way.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know how sustainable that is.
Yeah, I don't think the market will bear that load. And I guess on that note, neither can we, because all of us are getting quite tired. So I just wanted to say good night from all of us here at Meeple Syrup on behalf of Mr. Eric Lang and Mr. Bruno Faiduti, who we'd like to thank for staying with us through this late night episode. Thanks very much. We'll see you guys on the flip side. Make great games and make them even better. Here's our contact information. Please, please, please get in touch with us if you need to. If you have any questions or concerns, give us a shout, and we'll see you guys next week. See you later.